questions are thus. Today in our video lessons, we shall discuss the third part of our video lesson. We shall discuss decision making process, factors affecting decision making, limitations of decision making, and at the end we shall quote an example of decision making. Now let's discuss the decision making process. Generally we have 8 steps in decision making process. It starts with identification of the problem, establishing the decision criteria, weighing the decision criteria, generating alternatives, evaluating alternatives, selecting the best alternative, implementing the decision, and then evaluating the decision. Now let's discuss each step separately. The first step is identification of problem. It includes defining the problem and analyzing the problem. So while defining a problem, we should take care that all the limiting factors should be under control. Now what are the limiting factors? Limiting factors are the obstacles that comes while making a decision. For example, some of the limiting factors are materials, money, managerial skills, technical, know-how, employees, consumer demand, political, regulations, environmental constraints. So these are some of the limiting factors. After defining the problem, we should analyze the problem. Analyzing the problem depends upon 3 things. First, the futurity of the decision. This means to what length of time the decision will be applicable to a course of action. Second is the impact of decision. What is the impact of decision on other function and areas of business? And the third is the quality of decision, whether it is going to make some profit or benefit in the organization or not. The second step will be establishing decision criteria by information gathering. So we know that dozens of factors are involved and affected by the problem. In order to solve the problem, we should have lot of and relevant information. These information can be gathered by using check sheets, questionnaires from primary data and from secondary data. The third step is weighing the decision criteria by judging the alternatives. The baseline criteria for judging an alternative has to be decided. Now when it comes for defining the criteria, organizational objectives and corporate culture has to be taken into consideration. For example, profit is a main concern for an organization. Companies usually do not take decisions that make losses in an organization, except in some exceptions. So, baseline principles should be identified related to the problem taken into hand. Next is evaluation of alternatives. We already studied various techniques for evaluating an alternative like decision matrix, cost-benefit analysis, Pareto analysis, T-chart, all the operation research techniques, etc. Apart from this, also use the judgment principles and the various experiences and experimentation for evaluating an alternative. We need to compare each alternative with their positive and negative outcomes. After that, the next step will be selection of the best alternative. For selecting the best alternative, generally a manager uses 3 approaches. The first is experience, second experimentation, and the third is research and analysis. Experience means based on past knowledge of a manager, whatever he has experienced about a particular problem, he will take the decision. The second approach will be experimentation. This is a way by which the manager can make sure some plans are right, especially in view of the intangible factors, and tries the various alternatives and see which is the best. The third approach is research and analysis. Research and analysis is one of the most effective techniques that involves a relationship among the various variables and constraints. The relationship which is very strong can be selected while choosing the best alternative. Next, we shall implement the decision. The best decision will then be implemented. The manager will convert the decision into a plan of action or sequence of activities, execute the plan by himself, herself, or by the help of subordinates. A manager then put the selected decision into action. For a proper and effective execution of a decision or plan of action, 3 things are very important. First, proper and effective communication. Or the decision should be communicated properly to all the subordinates and the team members. Second, the decision must be accepted by the subordinate, and there should be a proper timing for the execution of the decision so that there should not be any resistance for the decision. The next step will be evaluation of the result. So whatever decision we made, we implemented, now we will evaluate that, whether it is going to help the organization, benefit the organization or not. At the end, we shall evaluate the results. There are basically three ways for the evaluation of results. First, follow-up, monitoring, or by feedback. Follow-up, like we'll always go and follow that whatever we have made the plan of action, whether it is working effectively or not. Anything that comes first, any problem if it comes, so that can be addressed as fast as possible. The second step is monitoring. The manager will go again and again and monitor, and whatever first-hand information comes to him through the information system will be evaluated and checked. The next way is feedback. Through feedback, generally the manager asks for periodic reports over the working of the project, whether the project is running smoothly in its commissioning period or not. After decision making process, let's discuss factors affecting decision making. There are various factors affecting decision making. Some of the important factors are personal factors, cultural factors, social factors, information and psychological factors. Under personal factors, we have two things: personal demographics and personal psychographics. Personal demographics is related to age, gender, whether the decision maker is a male or a female. Now, what is the education? What is its occupation? What is its economic position? Now, what are the psychographic factors? That includes lifestyle, the attitude of the decision maker, the status, the values and beliefs that the decision maker perceives. These are the psychographic factors. And the various cultural factors like the culture, for example, the religion, the traditions, the taboos, the language, the pattern of social behavior. Then again we have castes, the various castes, then the social class, the wealth status, the profession, the designation, the location, residency, the behavior of its members. All these will affect decision making. Social factors means the society in which we are living, or the people whom we are interacting in our day-to-day life will always have an impact on our decision making. For example, the intimate groups, the family with which we are living, the friends with which we are dealing every day. Then again the secondary groups like the opinion leaders which have great impact on our daily life, like many important leaders in our society. They will have some impact. So according to them we will make decisions. So these are the social factors that affect decision making. Next is information. So whatever information we are having, that should be relevant and that should be available on time, so that each opportunity or each alternative can be analyzed properly, and there should be minimal chances of uncertainty. Sometimes too many information also makes lot of confusion while making a decision. So the decision should be precise, it should be relevant, and it should be more informative. Now, what are the various psychological factors? Psychological factors like motivation, selective attention, selective distortion, selective retention, learning process, memory process. Now, what are all these things that I am telling you about? Motivation. Motivation means like with what things the society is going to be motivated, or our subordinates or our organization is going to be motivated. We have to take care of that. Selective attention. Now, what is selective attention? Selective attention means what the society needs at that time. What is the maximum requirement of the organization at that time? This will again affect the decision. Now, distortion. Distortion means we will interpret those decisions which fits to our conceptions. For example, if we have prior brand, a brand which has worked very successfully, so all the consumers are going to have the brand image of that thing. Another new product competing with that brand may or may not make success. Again, this is going to affect the decision. Retention. Now, retention is what? People will retain the memory of the good points about a good product, but they will fail to retain the memory of a new product. Then this is again one of the important things that has to be kept while making a decision. So a decision maker will always have a old points while making a decision. So sometimes we have to consider the new points also while making a decision. Second is learning process. So what are the learning process? How are we going? What is our thinking? That depends upon our learning process. Last is memory. Memory includes our past experiences, even the hearsay experiences. The experiences which we had earlier will definitely have an impact on our decision. Friends, let's discuss what are the various limitations in decision making. So the various limitations are: first, decision making is a time consuming process, because in case of individual decision making, the manager has to decide the various merit demerits of a decision. So this will consume a lot of time. Again, in group discussions, calling the group, distributing the questionnaire, again this is a time consuming process, and sometimes it may lead to a delayed decision or no decision. Sometimes we may have compromise decisions. Members of the group may make compromise decision to please a member. So here the quality of decision will be inferior and it will give no good result on its implementation. Sometimes biased decisions are also made because the decision will be benefiting to the manager himself or to his group, and this type of decision will have a bad effect on the workers and the consumers and on the society as well. Again, the limitation is limited analysis. Most managers do not do proper analysis because they don't have accurate data, and sometimes they have limited time, or the researchers are inexperienced, and sometimes wrong sampling is also done. So this results in limited analysis. This limited analysis may make bad decisions. Next is uncontrollable environmental factors. The environmental factors like political, social, technological, these are not controlled under the organization or under the manager, because these are changing or dynamic factor that changes every day. The manager has no control over environmental factors. So if the factors change in the wrong direction, the decision may divert or it may go wrong. The next limitation is uncertain future. As we know that decisions are mainly made for future. However, the future is uncertain. So it is very difficult to make decisions for future. Now the last limitation is responsibility. Basically, in case of group decisions, responsibility is diluted. First of all, everyone takes responsibility, and if the decision goes wrong, then that is no one's responsibility. So responsibility is diluted in case of group decisions. Let's quote an example. Let's see decision making process while buying a car, how a consumer behaves. Suppose let's have a look over a consumer's profile. The consumer is basically a middle-aged man. He lives in Delhi. His expected income is around 35,000 and has been driving Tata Indigo diesel for last 4 years. He drives at least 25 kilometers. But the problem is that he faces parking problem. Now, what will he need? He wants a fuel efficient car which should have less maintenance. There should be good after sales service. There should be more space internally. The price should be varied between 4 lakhs to 5 lakhs, and there should be safety in the car, and the car should be comfortable. For this, the consumer is going to search information. Now where he will go for information? He will visit his relatives, his friends, his memory and experience. He will read magazines, he will see medias, the respective company sites like Zigwheels, carvale.com, autocarindia.com. He'll go for a test drive if required. Based on the information, he'll have several alternatives like of various cars like Figo, Chevrolet Beat, Maruti or Fiat or Hyundai. Next, he's going to evaluate the alternatives. For evaluation of alternatives, he'll form a decision matrix where all the brands or decisions or alternatives will be in the column and all the factors affecting alternatives will be in the row section. As we can see, like all the cars A, Star, Ritz, Iton, Figo, Beat and Wagon are in the column, and the factors affecting fuel economy, engine type, power steering, ground clearance, price, dual airbags, turning radius, anti-lock braking system are in the row. Now again the decision matrix will be again filtered and all the yes will be taken into consideration. Now here again the brands will be on the column and in the factors affecting will be in the row section. Depending upon the yes, he will select the best alternatives. As we can see in the chart, WagonR has got maximum number of yes. So what is the decision maker's choice then? WagonR. Because according to him, it has excellent safety and security features, it has highest fuel efficiency, it has good after sales service, it has largest number of service stations. Since the radius is very less, so in the metropolitan cities, the consumer is not going to face any parking problem. So this was the end of our video lesson where we discussed decision making. I hope the topic was clear to you. Thank you for your time and attention.